Hello, so this is part two. It's just a quick review of loops with some simple examples also provided. So again, it's the same objective to understand what a loop does and how to control loops and make sure that you have definite ending points with loops. So again, it's a condition, and then it's always followed by statements. And the if the condition is false, that's when it exits the program or the loop. So this is a commission example. So this program it calculates sales commissions. So it will keep going. Okay, if yes. Okay, so while this is yes, okay, it gets the salesperson's commission rate and sales. Okay, and then multiplies it and figures out the commission. Okay, and prints out how much the commission is. Okay, and then it asks for a user input that says, you know, do you want to continue or do you not want to continue? All right. And if you enter yes, then it will go back through this loop. If you don't, then it will exit the loop. Okay. The issue sometimes is with infinite loops. Okay. So this is an infinite loop. All right. Because while this keeps going, okay, so you set the initial condition as yes. So it initially enters this. Okay. But unlike this program where it has a user input that says, do you want to calculate another one? And if the person enters a Y, it'll re-enter the loop. Or if the user enters anything else, then it will exit the loop. This one does not actually have that position, that command. So the keep going variable is always equal to y. So therefore, it creates an infinite loop. Or you might know this as something when an error occurs on your computer and you get the spinny wheel of death, meaning that something's going on with your computer and it's having some trouble, and it's doing an infinite loop, so it can't move past this one command because nothing is changing in there. So there's also count controlled loops, okay, the for loops, all right, for a variable in, a set control of variables, okay, it'll complete these statements. So again, simple loops, okay, this one will print the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay. Um, so for the number in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay, it'll print that number, okay. And by the way, this right here is how you create a list. Okay. It is with the brackets. Okay, so if you want to print all of these, this is a list of values. Okay, so it'll print everything in that list. Unlike if you put just the numbers 1 through 9 and you put 1 comma 10 here, that would also do the same trick, but I wanted to show you how to create a list, which is with the brackets. This is how you would print a list of strings. So um, it will go through and it indexes the list. So for name, right, it'll print this one first, the first index. And then as it goes through, it'll add 1 to the index and go to the next and then the next. The index is the statement or the string number that of a list. This, again, it will print hello world 5 times because it will start in for x in range 5, so it'll enter that loop 5 times. This will print out the perfect squares for 1 through 9, or 1 through 10, sorry, because it's 1 through 10 because it'll start at 1 and it'll end once it hits 11. It'll exit the loop at that point, and this is just squaring those numbers. So the centennial value is something that you want to end the program with. So oftentimes we will always have like a 0 if you're entering numbers, like enter 0 if you're done entering. So you'll always start with it equal to 0. Okay. So you always want to print enter 0 to end this program, okay, to enter this loop or exit this loop. So you always want to set the value, okay, or before the while loop. Otherwise, it'll become an infinite loop. And as long as that lot number, the user input, is not equal to 0, it'll run through this while loop. The minute that the user enters a 0, it'll exit this because this statement will become false, okay, and it'll exit the while loop. Sometimes you also want to make sure that you are entering the correct type of data, okay, so before you go to the next steps. All right, so, oh, I forgot to put those programs in, um, copies of those codes. So here's the code uh, for validation. So this is asking for prices. Okay, calculates retail prices. Well, prices can't be negative. So there is this validation loop right here. So while the wholesale is not equal to 0, or is not below 0, that means if it is below 0, if someone enters negative 25, it'll print out this validation statement, right? You sometimes you need people just that little extra check. Sometimes if someone enters like a floating point variable, when you need integers, you can have a validation here that makes sure that they are entering the right types of data. If it's a list and you have to ask them, type in yes or no in here while the string is not equal to, and you have to remember capitalization and and correct lettering. You can have a validation, right? So if someone types in something other than yes or no, it will prompt the person to say, please enter yes or no exactly as shown, something like that, and that validates the inputs that are coming in, and therefore will not create an infinite loop. It's easiest with numbers. Strings are a little bit harder. Sometimes you have to with capitalization, or what I do if I am doing a validation, I will either make the input from a user all uppercase or all lowercase, and then check it against a set string. That way you're not worried about specific capitalization on things. Spelling always matters in Python, unfortunately, in most coding. So nested loops are obviously one loop inside another. Okay, it enters the outer loop, does the multiple loops on the inside, and then will do another run of the outer loop. So This is the average test scores. So this gets the number of students, okay, and gets the test scores. All right. So for the students in the range of the number of students, okay, it will ask for the total, okay, student number, and then add one to it, and it'll print. Um, it will then calculate. The number of test scores and then add that to the total, and it calculates the average of the scores, and once that range goes through, then it prints out the average.